Oops, I forgot your ticket. Go home, maybe next trip. That was what my daughter-in-law, Amanda, told me at the airport. I had my suitcase in one hand, my passport in the other, and the widest smile on my face because I had spent $50,000 for this family Paris trip. It was supposed to be my dream vacation with my son, my grandchildren, and his wife. I had imagined strolling under the Eiffel Tower with them, eating croissants at cute little cafes, and watching my grandkids' eyes sparkle as they saw the lights of Paris for the first time. But instead, at the boarding gate, Amanda turned to me with a smirk and dropped the bomb. "Sorry, we don't have your ticket." Must have slipped my mind. "Guess you'll just have to go home. Maybe next trip." Froze. My legs shook. Everyone around us was staring at me. An old woman abandoned at the airport, treated like I was nothing. My son looked away, embarrassed, but he didn't stop her. My heart broke. But what they didn't know was this. I had already slipped something into Amanda's suitcase the night before. Something that would make their dream Paris vacation unforgettable. For all the wrong reasons. Do you want to know what I put in there? Well, I'll get to that soon. But first, let me tell you how this story even began. My name is Margaret. I'm 72 years old, and I live in Dallas, Texas. Before I go deeper, let me say this. Please subscribe, like this video, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming stories. And tell me in the comments, from which part of the country are you watching? I love reading your responses. Now let's go back. It all started 3 months ago when I got my retirement savings payout. I had worked my whole life as a teacher. I lived simply, saved carefully, and when I retired I thought, why not do something big for the family? I wanted to give my son David, his wife Amanda, and their kids an experience of a lifetime. Paris had always been my dream, but I thought, why not make it a family dream? So I called David and Amanda. Guess what? I said on the phone, my voice trembling with excitement. I'm paying for all of us to go to Paris. Airfare, hotel, food, tours, everything. There was silence for a second. Then Amanda squealed into the phone. Oh my God, Margaret. That's amazing. You are the sweetest mother-in-law ever. I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. Even David sounded excited. Mom, you really don't have to, he said, but his tone had hope in it. I want to, I insisted. It's my treat. I want us to make memories together. That's when Amanda offered. Well, since you're covering everything, let me handle all the bookings. I know the best sites and I've got friends who can get us deals. Don't you worry about a thing. I'll take care of it. At the time it sounded perfect. But now, looking back, I should have noticed her little laugh at the end of that sentence. Weeks went by. I would ask Amanda about the trip, and she always brushed me off with, "Don't stress, Margaret. I'm handling it." She even made a group chat with me, David, and the kids. She'd post little Paris photos with captions like, "Soon we'll be here," or "The kids can't wait to see the Eiffel Tower." I started buying clothes for the trip. I got myself a nice new suitcase. I even bought matching berets for the grandkids. Red ones so they'd look adorable in photos. My heart swelled with joy every time I thought about it. But then, things started to feel off. One evening, I stopped by David's house to drop off a casserole. Amanda was in the living room, whispering on the phone. She didn't notice me at first. I heard her say, "Don't worry, it'll just be the 4 of us. She'll never make it." I froze in the hallway, casserole in hand. My heart thumped. Who was she? Were they talking about me? Before I could listen further, Amanda spotted me. She jumped and quickly hung up. "Oh, hi, Margaret. Didn't hear you come in. Thanks for the casserole." Her smile was too wide. Oofy. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying her words. She'll never make it. Still I brushed it off. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she was talking about someone else. I didn't want to believe that my own family would plan something cruel against me. Finally, the big day came. I was so excited. I packed all my things, triple-checked my passport, and even made sure to bring a travel pillow for the long flight. But deep inside me, I still felt uneasy. And that's when I did something sneaky. The night before we left, I went to David and Amanda's house to drop off snacks for the kids. Amanda left her suitcase half-zipped in the hallway. She had gone upstairs to grab something. My hands trembled as I looked around. Nobody was watching. I slipped something inside her suitcase. Something that would change everything. Something that would make sure that if they had planned to hurt me, they'd never forget what they did. The next morning at the airport, everything looked fine at first. I checked bags. We walked toward the gate. I was giddy, already picturing Paris. But when we got to security, Amanda suddenly frowned at me. "Wait," she said, pretending to dig through her bag. "Where's your ticket, Margaret?" "No. I must have forgotten to book yours." "How silly of me. Guess you'll have to go home." "Don't worry, maybe next trip." Her smirk told me this was no accident. David stayed quiet. My own son, quiet. He didn't defend me. He didn't say, "That's not right." He just stood there, letting his wife humiliate me. The kids looked confused. "Grandma, aren't you coming with us?" little Emily asked. Amanda pulled them close. "Not this time, sweetie. Grandma will join us on the next trip." Tears burned my eyes. My throat closed up. People around us were staring, whispering. I had never felt so small, so unwanted. But I forced myself to straighten my back. I gave Amanda one last look. She thought she had won. She thought she had gotten rid of me. But what she didn't know was that the surprise inside her suitcase was waiting. And by the time they landed in Paris, their dream vacation would turn into a nightmare. When Amanda smirked and told me to go home, I wanted to collapse. But instead I smiled. Yes, I actually smiled because in my heart I knew the game had just begun. They thought they were clever. They thought they could take my $50,000, book a glamorous Paris vacation for themselves, and leave me humiliated at the airport like some forgotten old woman. But I had prepared for this moment. As I walked away from the gate, my suitcase dragging heavily behind me, I whispered to myself, "Just wait, Amanda. Just wait. Now let me tell you what I put in her suitcase." The night before, when I slipped into their house pretending to drop off snacks, I had tucked something special into the side pocket of her luggage. It was a small locked pouch. Inside it was something that would make her sweat the second airport security in Paris touched it. What was inside? Fake documents and rolls of suspicious-looking cash. They weren't real. The papers were old training materials my retired teacher friend once showed me, and the money was movie prop cash from a local theater. But to airport security, it would look serious. I also slipped in a note. A handwritten note that said, "This is payback for trying to ditch me. Next time don't underestimate Grandma." At that moment, I didn't know exactly what would happen, but I knew this much. Amanda's perfect trip would not go as planned. Back at Dallas Airport, I didn't go straight home. No, I sat quietly in a cafe where I could see the departure board. My heart pounded as I watched their flight to Paris get boarding. I pictured them laughing, Amanda feeling victorious, thinking she had erased me from their family adventure. But I also pictured her face when her suitcase got searched. Finally I went home. I sat in my living room, the clock ticking slowly, my body tense. For hours I kept glancing at my phone, waiting. And then it came. A message from David. Short. Angry. "Mom, what the hell did you do?" My lips curled into a smile. I opened the message, pretending to be confused. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Type back. His reply came quickly. "Amanda was stopped at customs in Paris. They found something in her bag. They're questioning her. We're stuck here at the airport. She swears she doesn't know how it got there. Did you put something in her luggage?" Oh, how I wanted to laugh out loud. But I played innocent. "Why would I do that?" I replied. "Maybe she should explain to you why she told me to go home, maybe next trip," while I was standing at the gate with my suitcase. "Did she tell you about that?" There was silence. Minutes passed. Then another message. "This isn't funny, Mom. The police are involved. We're in a mess." I set the phone down and let out a shaky breath. It was working. But as the hours stretched, guilt crept in. I didn't mean for things to get too serious. I only wanted Amanda to taste humiliation, to know she couldn't toy with me. I never wanted my grandkids scared in a foreign airport. So I decided to call David. When he answered, his voice was harsh. "Mom, why did you do this?" I spoke softly. "David, let's be honest. You let Amanda humiliate me at the airport. You both planned to ditch me, didn't you? I paid $50,000, and you were ready to toss me aside. Do you think that's fair?" There was silence. I could hear his breathing. Then finally, "Mom, I didn't know she didn't buy your ticket. I thought you were just meeting us later. Amanda handled everything. I swear." I narrowed my eyes. His words didn't feel true. "David," I said slowly, "you're my son. You should have spoken up. You should have protected me. Instead, you let her treat me like trash." He didn't answer. That night I barely slept. My phone buzzed with updates. Amanda had been detained for questioning. They didn't arrest her, but they kept her for hours, demanding explanations about the fake documents and cash. Finally, after proving the bills were props and the papers were meaningless, they let her go, but with a warning. Her name would now be flagged in the travel system. Imagine that. My perfect daughter-in-law, who always bragged about her flawless image, now had a travel record. The kids were crying. The vacation that was supposed to begin with magic had started with hours of fear and chaos. When I read David's last message that night, my stomach twisted. "We're at the hotel now. Amanda is furious. She says you've ruined everything. I don't know how we'll get through this week." I turned off my phone and leaned back in my chair. Part of me felt satisfaction, but another part felt the sting of sadness. All I had ever wanted was to be included, to be loved, to see my family smile together. And instead, this ugly war had begun. But then something happened that flipped the situation again. The very next day my phone rang. It wasn't David this time. It was Amanda. When I saw her name flash on the screen, my heart raced. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was sharp. "Margaret, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you've gone too far. You humiliated me in front of French authorities. You scared the kids. And let me tell you something. You might have won this round, but I promise you, I'll make you regret this." She hung up before I could respond. I sat frozen, the phone still in my hand. For the first time, I realized this wasn't over. Amanda was not the type to back down. She would fight back. And if she was willing to ditch me at the airport, what else was she capable of? That night I got another text from David. "Mom, Amanda says she's going to do something to you when we get back. I don't know what. Please be careful." My hand shook. I stared at the message over and over. Then I whispered to myself, "So, it's war, is it?" And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I got a knock on my front door. It was close to midnight. My heart jumped. Who could it be at this hour? I peeked through the peephole and nearly fainted. 2 police officers stood on my porch. The knock came again. Ring, ring, ring. "Dallas Police Department." "Open the door, ma'am." My knees went weak. My hands trembled as I reached for the lock. What could this be about? My heart thumped so hard I thought the officers outside could hear it. Slowly I opened the door. 2 tall officers stood on my porch, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Their faces were stern, unreadable. "Ma'am, are you Margaret Johnson?" one of them asked. "Yes," I whispered, clutching my robe tight around me. "We need to ask you some questions. May we come in?" I swallowed hard. My whole body screamed no, but I stepped aside. "Of course." They entered, their boots heavy on my carpet. I shut the door and followed them into the living room. One of them pulled out a small notepad. "We received a report from French authorities. They said your name came up in connection to suspicious materials discovered in your daughter-in-law's luggage at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. Do you know anything about this?" My mouth went dry. My chest tightened. Here it was, the moment where my little act of revenge might destroy me. I sat down slowly on the edge of the couch. My voice shook. "I don't know what you're talking about." The taller officer leaned closer. Mrs. Johnson, Amanda Green claims you planted those items in her suitcase. She says you were angry at her and wanted to sabotage her vacation. My heart flipped. Amanda had wasted no time. From across the ocean, she had already pointed the finger at me. I forced myself to meet their eyes. Officers, let me ask you something. Does that sound like something a 72-year-old grandmother would do? All I wanted was to enjoy Paris with my family. I paid for everything, every single dollar. Why would I ruin it? They looked at each other. The shorter one asked, "Is it true you covered the cost of the trip?" "Yes," I said firmly. $50,000. From my retirement savings. And in return, I was humiliated at the airport. My daughter-in-law looked me in the face and told me to go home, maybe next trip. Does that sound like love to you? The taller officer scratched his chin. For a moment, I saw doubt flicker in his eyes. "Mrs. Johnson," he finally said, "we're not here to arrest you. Least not now. We just needed your side of the story. But if any evidence comes up that ties you directly to what was found in that luggage, you could face charges. Do you understand?" "Yes," I whispered, my throat tight. They left after that, their warnings still echoing in my ears. When the door shut, I collapsed onto the couch and buried my face in my hands. What had I done? For the rest of the night I couldn't sleep. I kept pacing the living room, thinking about Amanda's call earlier, about her threats, about the way David had sounded, torn between his wife and his mother. My chest ached. But at the same time, a strange sense of satisfaction still pulsed through me. Amanda had finally been knocked off her pedestal. She had finally felt fear. The next morning I called David. He picked up quickly, his voice tired. "Mom, why did you do this?" "Amanda's furious. The kids are confused. You've made everything a disaster." I felt my heart harden. "David, let me ask you something. Did you really not know she never booked my ticket?" There was silence. Finally he sighed. "I knew. She told me she didn't want you to come. She said you'd slow us down, that the trip would be more fun without you." I didn't know what to say, Mom. I should have fought harder. But I didn't. His words pierced me like a knife. My own son had betrayed me. Tears stung my eyes. "David, I raised you better than this. You let her use my money to cut me out of my own dream. How could you?" He didn't answer. I could hear his guilt in the silence. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom." But apologies meant nothing now. That afternoon I made a decision. If Amanda wanted war, I was ready to fight. I would not sit back and be erased. I went to my bedroom, opened my drawer, and pulled out a small black notebook. Inside it were years of records. Things I had noticed about Amanda. Strange phone calls. Suspicious purchases. The way she'd often leave the house late at night, claiming she was meeting friends. I had always ignored these things. But now I wondered if they could be useful. If Amanda wanted to destroy me, maybe it was time I revealed some of her secrets. Days passed. The family sent no more updates. I imagined them walking the streets of Paris, forced smiles hiding their frustration, Amanda constantly glancing over her shoulder, worried about what might happen next. But then one evening my phone buzzed again. It was a message from an unknown number. Photo message. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was a picture of me standing outside my house, taken from across the street. And underneath it was a message. "Watch your back, Grandma." My phone slipped from my hand. My whole body shook. Someone was watching me. Someone knew where I lived. Amanda's words echoed in my head. "I'll make you regret this." But had she really sent it? Or was someone else now involved? I raced to lock every window and door. My heart wouldn't stop pounding. The war between me and Amanda had just taken a dangerous turn. And then, just as I thought it couldn't get any worse, my phone rang again. This time it was David. His voice was panicked, trembling. "Mom, Amanda's been arrested." Amanda's been arrested. The words echoed in my ear like a thunderclap. For a moment I couldn't breathe. My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles turned white. What did you just say? I whispered. David's voice cracked. She's in custody. The French police came to our hotel this morning. They said there were irregularities with her passport, her financial records, and something else they won't tell me. They took her away in front of me and the kids. I sat there stunned, my heart racing. This wasn't part of my plan. The fake documents and prop cash were only meant to humiliate her, to slow her down, not this. David, are the kids okay? I asked, my grandmother's heart immediately kicking in. They're scared. Emily keeps crying. Josh keeps asking when mommy's coming back. I don't know what to do, Mom. My throat tightened. Despite everything, my poor grandchildren were trapped in the middle of this mess. Listen to me, I said firmly. You stay calm for those kids. They need you right now more than ever. I'll figure out what's going on. After the call ended, I sat in silence. My mind spun with questions. Had Amanda been caught because of what I put in her suitcase? Or was there something bigger going on? Then a thought hit me like a lightning bolt. What if Amanda had secrets of her own? I pulled out my black notebook. Over the years, I had written down things about her that didn't make sense. Late-night calls in hushed voices. Credit card bills with strange charges. Trips she took without David, always with vague explanations. I had always thought maybe I was just being a nosy mother-in-law. But now it all seemed connected. Could it be that Amanda wasn't as innocent as she pretended? Could the French police have uncovered something real? The more I thought about it, the more I realized I needed answers. That evening I went online. I typed Amanda's full name into every search bar I could find. I scrolled for hours, digging through social media, travel records, anything. And then there it was. Photo. Amanda in Paris from years ago. But she wasn't alone. She was standing next to a man I had never seen before. Handsome, tall, with his arm around her waist. They looked close. Too close. My stomach dropped. Who was he? The caption under the photo read, "Best memories with Jay. Can't wait for our next trip." I zoomed in on his face. Suddenly, pieces of a puzzle began to click together. Was this why Amanda never wanted me around? Was this why she insisted on handling all the bookings, so she could control who knew what? My hands shook as I wrote the name Jay in my notebook. But before I could dig deeper, my phone rang again. This time it was a number from Paris. When I answered, a cold, professional voice greeted me. "This is Inspector Renaud from the French police. Are you Mrs. Margaret Johnson?" "Yes," I said, my heart hammering. "We have your daughter-in-law, Amanda Green, in custody. She claims you are framing her. We would like to ask you some questions to verify her claims." Froze. Thousands of miles away, yet they had reached me. I don't understand," I stammered. "Mrs. Johnson, if you care for your family, you should cooperate. There are serious accusations against Amanda. But there are also inconsistencies in her story. We need to know what you know." My breath caught. This was bigger than I had imagined. "Inspector, can you tell me why she was arrested?" I asked, my voice trembling. There was a pause. Then he said, "Let us just say, this is not only about her luggage. This is about who she really is." My knees buckled. Had to sit down. "Who she really is." "Please, Inspector," I whispered. "I'm an old woman. I just wanted to take my family to Paris. Please tell me, what has she done?" There was silence on the line. Then he said 5 chilling words. "Your daughter-in-law has another identity." The phone slipped from my hand. My heart thundered in my chest. Another identity. What did that even mean? Was Amanda living a double life? I stared at the wall in disbelief. For years I had thought she was just selfish, controlling, and cruel. But now I wondered if I had been living beside a stranger all along. And then, as if fate wanted to crush me further, there was another knock at my door. I jumped, my pulse racing. I crept to the door and peeked through the peephole. This time it wasn't the police. It was a man I had never seen before. Tall, dark hair, piercing eyes. He stood with his hands behind his back, glancing around my porch as if to make sure no one saw him. When he noticed the peephole's shadow move, he leaned closer to the door. His lips curled into a small, knowing smile. And then he whispered, loud enough for me to hear through the wood. "She told me you'd try to stop her." I pushed the closet door wider, and that's when I saw it. A small, square opening in the wall behind the old coats. A draft of cold air brushed against my skin, and the smell of dust and salt filled my nose. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would wake the whole house. "Mom never mentioned this," I whispered to myself. My hand shook as I pulled the coats aside and stepped closer. The opening was covered with a wooden panel, and when I pushed it, the board creaked and gave way, revealing a narrow passage. The glow of my flashlight revealed stairs going down, steep, narrow, and built with uneven stones. I swallowed hard. Who had built this? And why? I thought about my son, about how quickly he had sold the beach house, and about the strange confidence in his voice when he told me it was gone. Did he know about this? Was this the reason he wanted me out so fast? I stepped into the hidden passage, ducking my head to fit. The air grew colder with each step. The silence was thick, except for the echo of my own breathing. My light flickered across the stone walls until it landed on something that made my knees weaken. At the bottom of the stairs was a locked iron door. But scratched into the stone beside it, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Don't trust your own blood." I staggered back. My chest tightened. Who wrote this? Was it my husband? Was this why he built this secret place? With trembling fingers, I touched the old lock. It was rusted but still firm. And then, as if the house itself wanted to answer me, I heard it. Footsteps above. Low. Heavy. Coming from the hallway I had just left. I froze, clutching my flashlight. Someone was inside the house with me. The hidden passage suddenly felt like a trap. My only way out was up those narrow stairs, straight toward the unknown person walking above me. I pressed my back against the stone wall, heart racing, torn between two terrible choices. Face whoever was upstairs, or break into the locked room and uncover a truth that might destroy me. And just then, the footsteps stopped, right above the closet door. The sight of that photo froze me. My smiling husband stood tall and proud on the porch, but my own face had been torn out with jagged scratches. I dropped the photo and quickly flipped through the others. Each one was worse than the last. In one, my wedding picture, my head was scribbled over with thick black ink. In another, me holding my newborn son. My eyes had been burned out with something sharp. And in the last one, my son as a boy standing next to me, but only his side of the picture was left intact. My image had been cut clean out. My stomach turned. Whoever had done this had been planning it for years. I whispered into the damp room, my voice shaking. "Why me? Why my own family?" Suddenly, the iron door rattled. "Mom!" His voice seeped through the cracks. "You found it, didn't you?" I clutched the bundle of photos to my chest, my hands trembling. "What is this, Daniel?" I shouted through the door, my voice breaking. "Why are my pictures destroyed? Why are you doing this to me?" Silence. Then a low laugh, one I didn't recognize, though it came from my own son. "You were never supposed to see that," he said. "But since you have, now you'll understand." The door shuddered. He was trying to push it open. I backed away, flashlight trembling in my hand. The beam landed on the far corner of the room, where something metallic gleamed. It was a trunk, old, dust-covered, but locked with a chain. I scrambled toward it, desperate for answers, for anything that might explain what my own son was hiding from me. My hands fumbled with the chain, tugging and pulling until it cut into my skin. Then crash. The iron door burst open. The sound slammed through the room like thunder. My son stood in the doorway, his face half hidden by shadow, his eyes glowing with something I had never seen in him before. Hatred. And in his hand was not a suitcase or travel bag. It was a crowbar. The metal crowbar gleamed in his grip as he stepped inside. His footsteps slow, deliberate, like a predator circling prey. "Daniel!" My voice cracked. "You're scaring me." He tilted his head, eyes narrowing. "Scaring you? After everything you've done? You should have been scared a long time ago." My knees weakened. "What are you talking about? I raised you, I gave you everything." He swung the crowbar suddenly, and it slammed against the stone wall inches from my head. Dust rained down. I screamed and stumbled backward, clutching the bundle of ruined photographs. "Stop lying," he roared. His voice echoed in the small, damp room. "You think you were some perfect mother. You were the reason Dad left." The words sliced through me. My husband had vanished years ago. No goodbye, no trace. I'd always believed he'd run away. But Daniel's face twisted in rage. He believed I was to blame. Tears blurred my eyes. "That's not true. Your father made his own choices." Shut up." He raised the crowbar again, his whole body trembling. "I've been waiting for this moment. Paris was supposed to be our chance to finally get rid of you. Quietly, cleanly. But you just had to come back here, didn't you?" My heart slammed against my ribs. The truth hit me like lightning. They hadn't forgotten my ticket by accident. They had planned to leave me behind forever. And now my own son wanted to finish the job himself. Desperate, I grabbed the rusty chain wrapped around the trunk in the corner and yanked. The chain snapped loose with a groan. I pulled the lid open, hoping for a weapon, a tool, anything. What I saw made me gasp. Inside the trunk were stacks of letters, yellowed with age. Letters addressed to me. All unopened. All in my husband's handwriting. I barely had time to process it before Daniel lunged at me with the crowbar raised high. I ducked, the metal scraping across the trunk's edge with a scream of sparks. And that's when I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just trying to hurt me. He wanted me gone. The footsteps stopped above me. The floorboards groaned as if someone was standing still, listening. My throat went dry. I pressed my ear to the cold stone wall, straining to hear. Then it came. Voice. Low, heavy, and familiar. "Mom. I know you're still here." It was my son. My blood turned to ice. He wasn't supposed to be here. He told me he had already left, that the house was sold. My hands trembled as I gripped the flashlight tighter. He called again, softer this time, like he was coaxing a child. "You shouldn't have come back. You always make things harder." My knees almost gave out. Why would my own son say that to me? What did he mean? I looked back at the iron door at the bottom of the stairs. The words carved into the wall glared at me again. "Don't trust your own blood." Suddenly, I heard the closet door above creak. My son was opening it. My heart jumped into my throat. If he found the secret passage, I would be trapped. I darted down the last steps and dropped to my knees in front of the lock. My fingers shook as I tugged at it. Rust crumbled onto my hands. The lock wouldn't budge. "Mom!" His footsteps creaked down toward the closet. "Why couldn't you just let it go?" Panic surged through me. I grabbed a broken piece of stone from the floor and smashed it against the lock. Once. My palms burned. The iron groaned but didn't give. Then I froze, because I heard him push aside the coats upstairs. The beam of my flashlight shook across the old door as I hit the lock one last time with all my strength. Crack. The lock snapped. The iron door swung open with a rusty scream. I stumbled inside just as the closet above scraped open. I slammed the iron door behind me and held my breath. Darkness swallowed me whole. But when my flashlight flickered back to life, I wished it hadn't. Because in front of me, sitting in the middle of the room, was a wooden chair. And tied to it was a bundle of old photographs. The top one showed me and my husband on the porch of this very house, smiling. But someone had scratched out my face. The crowbar whistled past my ear, slamming against the stone wall with a sickening clang. Chips of rock sprayed across the floor. My heart thundered so hard it felt like it would tear from my chest. I stumbled backward, clutching the bundle of photos in one hand and one of the old letters in the other. My son's face twisted in fury. His jaw clenched so tight I could see the veins pulsing in his neck. "Stop running," he shouted. "You can't escape this. Not anymore." The words cut me deeper than the threat of the crowbar. Escape this. What did he mean? I raised the letter between us. "Daniel, look. These are from your father. Letters. He didn't abandon us like you think." His face contorted, and a growl tore from his throat. He swung again. I threw myself sideways, crashing onto the trunk. My shoulder screamed with pain, but I didn't let go of the letter. The paper trembled in my hands. The ink was faded, but I could still make out the first line. "My dearest Margaret, if you are reading this, it means I am still alive, but in danger." My vision blurred. My husband hadn't left. He'd been taken. Before I could read further, Daniel's hand clamped onto my wrist. His grip was iron, crushing the fragile letter between us. His eyes were wild, his breath hot against my face. "You weren't supposed to see that," he hissed. I gasped, struggling against him. "You knew. You knew these letters were here." His lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. "Of course I knew. I've known for years. Dad didn't leave because of me or because of you. He left because he had to. And you," his voice dropped to a venomous whisper, "you were never supposed to find the truth." He yanked the letter from my hands and tossed it onto the damp floor. The paper fluttered, fragile and broken like my hope. I stared at him, my voice trembling. "Why, Daniel? Why hide this from me? From your own mother?" He raised the crowbar again, the dim light catching its edge. "Because the truth is poison. And if you knew, you'd ruin everything. You'd ruin my life." That was when I realized. This wasn't just anger. This was obsession. My son had been feeding on this secret for years, letting it twist him until nothing was left but bitterness. Fear surged through me, but so did something else, fire. I wasn't about to die in this hidden room. Not at the hands of my own flesh and blood. I grabbed another letter from the trunk and, with shaking fingers, ripped it open. Daniel lunged forward, but I shouted the words out loud before he could stop me. "They're watching me, Margaret. They know about the house. Protect Daniel. Don't trust anyone, not even." The rest of the letter had been torn, but the meaning was clear. My husband hadn't vanished by choice. He'd been hunted. Daniel froze, his chest heaving. His grip on the crowbar wavered for the first time. His eyes darted to the letter, then back to me. "You shouldn't have read that," he muttered, almost like a child scolded. His voice shook, no longer steady and confident. I saw my chance. With all the strength in me, I shoved the trunk lid upward. It slammed against his wrist, and the crowbar clattered to the floor. The sound echoed like freedom. I snatched the weapon before he could, the cold metal heavy in my hands. My son stumbled back, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Mom!" His voice was almost pleading now. "Put it down. You don't know what you're doing." Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't lower the crowbar. "No, Daniel. I finally do know what I'm doing. For years I thought your father left us. I blamed myself. I lived with shame. But the truth was here all along, hidden in this room, and you helped keep it from me." His face crumpled with rage. He charged, but I swung the crowbar in a wide arc. It missed his head by inches, smashing into the wall and sending cracks across the stone. He stumbled back, breathing hard, his hands raised. "You wouldn't hurt your own son," he spat, testing me. My grip tightened. My arms shook, but I stood tall. "And you wouldn't try to kill your own mother." But here we are. For a long, awful moment, neither of us moved. Only the sound of our ragged breathing filled the air. Then something shifted. His eyes darted to the trunk again, to the letters spilling out onto the damp floor. And in that instant, I understood. He wasn't going to stop until every trace of my husband's truth was destroyed. And if that meant destroying me too, he would do it. My heart pounded in my ears. I had a choice: fight my son and risk losing him forever, or let him bury the truth along with me. The crowbar shook in my hands as the weight of that choice pressed down. But before I could decide, a sound from upstairs shattered the silence. A door creaked open. Both of us froze. Someone else was in the house. The door creaked above us, slow and heavy, like an intruder was testing each hinge. Daniel's head whipped toward the sound, his face paling. My own chest froze, the crowbar still trembling in my hands. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us breathed. The silence was broken by the faintest shuffle of footsteps across the floorboards. Whoever was up there wasn't trying to hide. They were moving with calm, deliberate steps, as if they knew we were down here, waiting. Daniel cursed under his breath. "No, not now." His voice cracked with something I had not heard in years: fear. I whispered, my throat dry. "Who's here, Daniel?" He turned to me, his eyes wild. "Stay quiet. Don't say a word." He started toward the iron door, but I stepped between him and the staircase, crowbar raised. "No, you're going to tell me right now. Who is in my house?" His lips pulled tight. He looked at me, then toward the stairs, then back again. His jaw worked but no sound came out. Finally he growled, "If you value your life, you'll let me handle this." My heart thumped so hard it hurt. Handle this? What could he possibly mean? The footsteps upstairs grew louder, moving slowly toward the closet above the hidden stairwell. Dust sprinkled down from the ceiling. A shadow passed through the cracks in the floorboards. And then, with a scraping groan, the closet door above opened all the way. Light poured into the stairwell. Someone was coming down. I backed toward the trunk of letters, my chest heaving. Daniel moved to the side, his fists clenched. His eyes locked on the doorway like a cornered animal. The figure stepped into view. First I thought it was a stranger. A tall man in a dark coat, hair streaked with gray. His face half hidden by the dim light. My stomach twisted, but then my eyes focused. And my world cracked in two. "Margaret," the man whispered. His voice was hoarse, broken, but I would have known it anywhere. It was my husband. My knees nearly buckled. "John." My voice came out as a choked sob. His eyes softened as they met mine, but before I could move toward him, Daniel erupted. "You!" His voice thundered through the room. "You should be dead." He lunged forward, fists curled, his entire body shaking with fury. John didn't flinch. He stood tall in the doorway, his hands raised not in fear, but in calm control. "Daniel, I didn't want you to see me like this. But you've left me no choice." The words rattled in my ears. None of it made sense. Dead. No choice. I looked between them, my son's rage and my husband's strange calmness. "Someone explain to me what's happening. Where have you been, John? Why did you disappear?" Daniel spun toward me, his face twisted. "Don't listen to him. He's lying. He left us, Mom. He left because he didn't care. He let us rot, and now he's here to poison you against me." John's voice cut through the air, sharp and steady. "That's not true, Margaret. I never left you. I was forced into hiding. 4 years, I've been trying to protect both of you." The words made me dizzy. I clutched the crowbar tighter, torn between the two men I loved and the horror of their truths colliding in front of me. Daniel's laugh was cold, bitter. "Protect us. Don't make me laugh. You destroyed everything. You let me grow up without a father. And now you crawl back here to take her side. To make me the villain." His eyes burned with hatred, not just at his father but at me too. John stepped closer, his gaze locked on Daniel. "Son, you don't know what you're involved in. The people who came after me, they're still watching. That's why I left these letters. To warn your mother. To warn you." Daniel snarled. "I don't need your warnings. I don't need you." He lunged again, this time straight at John. I screamed. The crowbar slipped from my grip and clattered to the floor. The two of them collided in the narrow doorway, their bodies slamming against the stone walls. Dust and debris rained down as father and son fought, years of secrets, anger, and betrayal erupting in violent shouts and grunts. "Stop!" cried. "Please stop." But they didn't hear me. John wrenched Daniel's arm, forcing the crowbar from his hands. It skidded across the floor toward me. My breath caught. I could pick it up again. I could end this fight with one swing. But I froze. How could I? This was my son. And my husband. John's voice roared over the struggle. "You've been manipulated, Daniel. Can't you see? They twisted you against us." Daniel spit in his father's face. "Liar. You abandoned us, and now you're trying to trick Mom too." The two of them crashed into the trunk, spilling the letters everywhere. Pages fluttered like dying birds across the floor. I fell to my knees, scooping them up desperately, searching for one that might explain all of this, one truth among the chaos. And then I found it. A letter addressed not to me, but to Daniel. My hands shook as I tore it open and read aloud over their shouts. "My son, if you are reading this, then they have reached you. Do not trust the voices that promise power. They will use you against your own family. Protect your mother. Protect yourself. Trust no one, not even the ones closest to me. Remember, blood can be turned into a weapon." The words echoed in the damp room. The fight stopped. Both men froze. Both turned to me. Daniel's face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no words came. His hands trembled. John's eyes shone with sorrow. "I tried to warn him," he whispered. The air grew thick, suffocating. My son stumbled back, away from his father, away from me, shaking his head. "No, no, that's not true. He's twisting it. He's making me think." He stopped mid-sentence, clutching his head as if fighting some unseen force. His body trembled, sweat pouring down his face. I rushed toward him. "Daniel, please stop. You don't have to fight us. You don't have to believe whatever lies they told you." But as I reached for him, he shoved me back. His eyes burned with something darker now, something not entirely his own. And then, in a voice that didn't sound like my son's, he said, "You should have stayed gone, John. Now none of you will leave this house alive." The words chilled me to the bone, because in that moment, I knew my son was no longer just my son. He was something else, something corrupted. And as he picked up the crowbar again, his face twisted into a mask of rage and torment, I realized the nightmare wasn't ending. It was only beginning. The crowbar gleamed in Daniel's hand, but it wasn't his grip alone that terrified me. It was his eyes. They weren't the eyes of the boy I had raised, not the boy who used to run barefoot in the yard, chasing fireflies. These eyes were cold, wild, and burning with something that didn't belong to him. "Daniel," I whispered, backing toward the trunk. "Put it down, please. You don't want to do this." His voice came low, guttural, and laced with venom. "You don't know what I want. You never did." John stepped forward, his own hands outstretched, not with a weapon but with a father's desperation. "Son, listen to me. That isn't you talking. That's them. They've gotten into your head." Daniel's laugh was hollow. "Them. Always with your stories, Dad. Always someone else to blame. You were never man enough to admit the truth. You abandoned us, and I had to grow up in your shadow. You left me with her, with nothing." My throat closed. His words cut deeper than the crowbar ever could. He looked at me like I was part of the betrayal. John's jaw clenched. "I didn't leave you. I was hunted. I stayed away to keep both of you alive. But now I see. They found you anyway." Daniel roared and swung the crowbar at his father's head. John ducked, the metal scraping sparks against the stone wall. He grabbed Daniel's arm, twisting hard. The crowbar clanged to the ground. They grappled, father against son, muscles straining, grunts filling the damp air. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the old walls groaned under the struggle. "Stop!" I cried, rushing forward. Please, both of you. But they didn't stop. John forced Daniel against the wall, his hand gripping his son's collar. Fight it, Daniel. Fight whatever they put in you. Daniel snarled, his face inches from his father's. You think I'm weak. You think I need saving. He slammed his knee into John's stomach. John gasped and fell to one knee. Daniel snatched the crowbar again, raising it high. I didn't think, I just moved. I grabbed one of the letters from the floor and held it out like a shield. Daniel, read this. For a split second, his eyes flicked to the page. His arms trembled, the crowbar hovering in the air. I read aloud, my voice shaking. Daniel, you are my blood. They will twist you into a weapon against me. But you must remember, you are stronger than their lies. If you forget everything else, remember this. You are my son and I love you. The words echoed in the chamber. John's head lifted, his eyes shining with tears. But Daniel's face contorted. His whole body shook as if the words were burning him from the inside out. He staggered back, clutching his head. Stop. Stop saying that. I stepped closer, letter still in my hand. It's the truth, Daniel. Your father never abandoned you. He wrote to you. He tried to protect you. You've been used. Don't you see? Daniel dropped to his knees, the crowbar clattering away. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. For the briefest moment I saw my son again. The boy I had kissed goodnight. The boy who used to ask me to tell him one more bedtime story. Mom, he whispered. His eyes softened. I don't know what's real anymore. I knelt in front of him, cradling his face in my hands. What's real is that I love you. We both do. We never stopped. But before he could answer, John's voice cut through the moment. It's not over. Look. He pointed toward the letters scattered on the floor. One of them had slipped halfway under the trunk, its corner glinting strangely in the dim light. Not paper but metal. Pulled it free. It wasn't a letter at all. It was a thin, metallic envelope, heavier than it looked. Inside was a small key, cold and rusted. Attached to it was a note in John's handwriting. For the lock upstairs. Only when the truth is safe. Chill swept through me. Another lock. Another secret hidden in the house. Daniel's head snapped up. His eyes flickered with something darker again. No, you're not opening it. He lunged for the key, but John intercepted him, shoving him back. Margaret, go. Get upstairs. Find the lock. I hesitated, torn between running and staying, but the urgency in John's voice left no room for argument. I clutched the key tight and scrambled up the stone steps, my legs shaking beneath me. Behind me their voices clashed. John shouting, Daniel roaring, the sound of fists meeting flesh, the echo of a lifetime of anger unleashed. I burst through the closet door into the dusty living room. My eyes darted wildly. Where was this lock? Then I saw it, the fireplace. At its base was a small iron panel I had never noticed before, the size of a shoebox. My hands shook as I pressed the key into its slot. It resisted, then turned with a heavy click. The panel creaked open. Inside was a leather-bound journal. My breath caught. I pulled it out, dust flying everywhere, and flipped it open. It wasn't John's handwriting. It was older, rougher. My stomach dropped as I read the first line. They think the house is theirs. They think they are safe. But blood is blood, and blood will pay the debt. The words blurred as terror filled me. This wasn't just about John. This went back further, to the house itself, to whoever had owned it before us. A scream tore through the floorboards, dragging me back to reality. It was John. I dropped the journal and raced back to the closet, heart in my throat. I reached the bottom of the steps just in time to see John pinned against the wall, Daniel's hands around his throat. John's face was red, his breath ragged. Daniel, fight it, you're stronger. But Daniel's eyes were wild again, consumed by that dark fire. He pressed harder, his knuckles white. Had one chance. I grabbed the crowbar from the floor, raised it high, and shouted with all the power left in me. "Daniel, stop! Or I swear I'll do it." His head whipped toward me. For the briefest moment, his eyes softened like my words had reached through the storm inside him. Then he smiled, a slow, chilling smile. "You don't have the strength, Mom." My hands trembled on the crowbar. My vision blurred with tears. But in that moment something in me hardened. 'Cause he was wrong. Swung. The crowbar connected with the wall just inches from his head, the sound exploding through the chamber. Dust rained down. Daniel flinched, loosening his grip on his father. John gasped, stumbling free. I raised the crowbar again, this time steady. My voice was steel. "Try me." Daniel's chest heaved, his eyes darting between me and his father. For the first time he looked unsure. But the darkness in him wasn't gone. Not yet. And as he slowly bent to pick up one of the scattered letters, his lips curled into something that chilled me to the core. "Then let's see how much truth you can survive." The sound of sirens split through the Paris night like angry alarms from heaven. Red and blue lights painted the crumbling walls of the cellar as Daniel pressed me against the cold stone. His eyes were wild, the crowbar trembling in his grip. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely holding steady. "They're coming for you, Daniel. It's over." He snarled, shoving the crowbar closer to my chest. "No, not yet. I'm not finished with you. You ruined everything. Dad, my childhood, Paris." Before he could finish, the door at the top of the stairs burst open with a deafening crack. Officers flooded in, weapons drawn, shouts echoing down the steps. Daniel froze, his face caught between rage and fear. "Drop it. Put the weapon down," one officer commanded. For a long second I thought my son might swing anyway. His chest heaved, sweat dripping from his forehead. But slowly his fingers loosened, and the crowbar clattered to the floor. Relief hit me so hard I nearly collapsed. I backed away, clutching the stack of letters I had pulled from the trunk. My hands were shaking, but I refused to let them go. They were my last connection to a truth I hadn't known for decades. Daniel was dragged away in handcuffs, his shouts echoing through the night. "She's the liar. She destroyed us all. You'll see." When the cellar finally fell silent, I sank to my knees. My body trembled with exhaustion, but I forced myself to open the first letter. "My dearest Evelyn," it began, "I never wanted to leave. They made me. Your father and Daniel's stepmother convinced me I was no good for you. They said if I stayed I would ruin your life. So I disappeared. But I never stopped loving you." Tears spilled freely. My husband hadn't abandoned me. He had been forced away, tricked by the same people who had whispered poison into Daniel's ear. My whole life I had carried guilt that wasn't mine. By the time I returned to my hotel, the news had already spread. American family arrested in Paris after shocking betrayal. The story ran everywhere. Headlines, social media, whispered gossip in the streets. Their dream vacation had turned into a nightmare, just as I had promised. But I felt no victory, only sorrow. My son, the boy I had cradled in my arms, taught to walk, sang to sleep, had chosen to betray me, to hurt me, to erase me. My daughter-in-law had played her part too, twisting his bitterness into hate. And for what? Money, control, freedom from the mother who paid for their luxury. I stood by the window that night, staring at the Eiffel Tower glowing against the black sky. For years I had dreamed of seeing it with my family. And here I was, seeing it alone. The lesson cut deeper than any betrayal. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Trust should be earned, not assumed. To my viewers I say this: never let anyone, even family, treat you like you don't matter. Protect your heart, protect your peace, and remember, the people who truly love you will never need to trick you, exclude you, or destroy you to feel whole. And as for me, I survived. They planned to ditch me, to silence me, to take my money and run. But I'm still here. Stronger. Wiser. I folded the last of my husband's letters and tucked it into my bag. His words would travel home with me, proof that love, real love, endures lies, betrayal, and even time itself. When I boarded the plane back to the US, people recognized me from the news. Some stared, some whispered. But one woman leaned over and touched my hand gently. "You're brave," she said softly. "Well, I wasn't brave. I was broken, patched together by survival. But I had learned something powerful. No one can erase your worth unless you let them." And so, to all of you watching and listening, this is Evelyn, 68 years old, from Dallas, Texas, telling you for the last time. Make sure you subscribe, like this story, and hit the notification bell for more. And don't forget to tell me where you're watching from. Because stories like mine aren't just stories. They're warnings. And if even one of you learns to protect yourself sooner than I did, then everything I went through will not have been in vain. The Eiffel Tower twinkled in my memory as the plane took off. Their dream vacation had ended in handcuffs and shame. But mine was just beginning, because freedom is the greatest trip of all. Sparkles, the end sparkles.